Hello everyone, it's TS Page and welcome back to another video. Today I want to start off a new series on this channel which is taking a deeper dive into Realm lore. Today my theory is that the Parasite Chambers dungeon is not an infected guild hall but rather an entire infected Nexus. So the story begins like this. A guild was attempting to open a never before seen chest. The infested chest, or the tea room chest, does not share a sprite with any other chest in the game, meaning it would have had to have been a new and unique chest at the time it was discovered. In trying to open this new chest, they had to resort to magic usage and were trying to do so using new items. Now, we see the chest in its current state, and it is particularly infected. My theory is that the chest is what caused everything. The new magic items being used by the wizard, sorcerer, and priest created parasites that infected them all at once, infecting and fusing them into the nightmare colony. This explains all of the item drops. Mana is a clear conclusion because of the representation of magic using classes, and the items dropped by the priest, sorcerer, and wizard were all infected and then turned into the white bags we see today. With that said, it doesn't yet explain how I got to the Nexus conclusion. The Nightmare Colony is a massive enemy and is way too big to simply inhabit the guild hall for an extended period of time. The colony would continue to feed on the guild members so unfortunate to enter the hall, consuming and controlling all of the current 15 classes as indicated by the weapon-wielding host that appear in the dungeon, until it finally moved itself out of the guild hall, leaving the chest behind. This explains why the tea room is the only room in the dungeon to bear resemblance to the guild hall. This also explains enemies in the dungeon we see not explained by character counterparts. We can almost certainly infer that the pet yard was also infected. Let's take a look at the painling. The painling looks oddly similar to a humanoid pet, or more strikingly, an automation pet. The blood slurp shown on screen is probably a directly infected version of the sea slurp pet, commonly hatched from coral gifts and aquatic eggs. We are given another example of this with the Parasite, or however you say it, which as you can tell is a direct representation of the avian family. Finally, we have the Parasite Blob Guardian, which looks like it could be a representative of the insect family. The biggest question I had coming into this theory was how I was going to explain away the vault chests, because, to be completely honest, it seemed that there was no way I could come up with a viable option of that. But, after thinking it through a little bit, I came to the conclusion that the pulsating object shown on screen is completely immobile, not moving, and when the parasites overtook the wood of the chest, it probably fully took over and destroyed all of the items inside, but stored their energy. So when a player is to walk back over it, it explodes and releases all of the energy stored from the items that were once inside. Now let's talk about the Nexus itself. If we take a look, as it stands now, it doesn't seem to share a lot with the dungeon itself, but the Nexus has changed a lot in the past. Let's go back and take a look at the Nexus from the time Parasites was released. Aha! There we have it. If you remember, the Parasites was released as a part of a Halloween update, and this was the Nexus at the time. If you played during this Nexus, you'll probably remember lots of dark, twisted trees. These actually bear a striking resemblance to the barrier walls of the dungeon, which look a lot like said trees from this iteration of the Nexus. Also, to further back this theory, the walls of the Nexus at the time were a very dark gray, rather than the typical white walls of the Nexus we know and love, which perfectly explains the walls of the dungeon being dark and the barrier blocks in the dungeon being red and twisted like trees. We have successfully explained a majority of the dungeon with very few holes as to how it could have been formed. But I'm not done yet. By the time I reached this point in the theory, I had some remaining questions about the colonies and the large enemies. It is my belief that the large enemies, such as the Furious Lasher and the Walking Horror, are creations of the Nightmare Colony itself. Whenever you enter the boss room in Parasites, there's a chance you encounter one of these larger enemies as seen in my playthrough of the dungeon, meaning they likely started with their origin at the Nightmare Colony and spread throughout the dungeon as time passed. And for the last set of enemies, we have the colonies. My simple theory is that the Nightmare Colony left parts of its body behind as it moved throughout the Nexus, which then infected various pets or rooms and then became even stronger than the rest of the parasitic enemies. And to close off this theory, I want to look at the shape of the dungeon, and my best guess is that the dungeon was made by a withering effect on all of the walls as the Nightmare Colony spread throughout the Nexus. If we look at the RotMG description of the Nightmare Colony, it states, "The nature of the parasites may be ambiguous, but it is clear that the Nightmare Colony is their root. the fleshy amalgamations of appendages and maws control the rest of the hive mind, though it is unclear if the organism is truly capable of thinking or feeling, which explains the final piece of the puzzle. The red textures that consume the walls and the floor show an interconnected web between the whole dungeon and the nightmare colony, which more than plausibly could have completely reshaped the Nexus as we know it. So there we have it. The Parasite Chambers is not simply a guild hall gone wrong, but a whole Nexus overtaken and infected by parasites created by a terrible mistake. Now, there may be holes in this theory or pieces of info I could have missed, but from all of my research, this is the best I could come up with. Feel free to share your ideas or theories in the comments below, and if you have evidence to back this theory up, please leave that in the comments as well. If you would like to help with this type of theory video in the future, please join my Discord in the description below. I will actively be looking for people willing to help on these types of theory projects, and will even credit you if your contributions are above and beyond. With that said, huge thank you to Sorrel and Box for making this video possible. Sorrel contributed massively with information and even helped write some sections of this script. And Box gave me lots of fantastic advice for making a scripted video. So if you like the video and see them around, give them a positive message to tell them you enjoyed the video. Alright, that's all I got for you today. I'll see you soon. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day. If you like the video, like, subscribe, do all that fun jazz, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.